Hello. My name is Anna, and I am a student of English. This is my story. I want to share my experience learning English and the adventures I had along the way. It all started on a warm summer day in New York City. I was on a bus, heading to Central Park. Two men were sitting nearby, speaking in English. I didn't understand much, as I was only a beginner. I had studied a bit of English before, but I knew very few words. I decided to try speaking to them in my basic English. The men smiled and replied slowly, understanding that I was just starting out. I was so happy they understood me. I told them I wanted to learn English. They told me they were from Boston and were visiting New York for a vacation. We talked for about 10 minutes until I reached my stop. Before I got off the bus, they gave me their contact details and invited me to visit Boston to practice English with them. That meeting inspired me to work harder on my English. Every day, I translated texts, listened to English music, and watched TV shows. After 6 months, my English had improved significantly, but I still wanted to know more. So, I decided to go to London to study English. When I arrived in London, I enrolled in an English language school. My first class was on Monday. I met my teacher, a kind and enthusiastic woman, and my classmates, who came from different countries. Our teacher asked us to introduce ourselves and share how we had been learning English. She then explained that she would teach us a simple yet effective method to learn the language. She told us that we didn't need to rely on textbooks. Instead, we should immerse ourselves in English by using it often. I was excited because I preferred learning through practice and real-life conversations. Our teacher explained that the best way to learn English is through communication. She said we need to speak, listen, and think in English, rather than just memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. Many students try to memorize new words and grammar, but they often forget them because they don't use them. She told us that to truly learn a new language, we should focus on speaking and understanding, not just studying from books. This approach made me feel confident and motivated. Our lesson continued with the teacher asking us about our hobbies and what we liked to do in our free time. We practiced speaking in pairs, sharing stories and ideas. I enjoyed the interaction because it was fun and engaging. I returned to school on Tuesday, eager for more. One of the students asked the teacher about the best way to learn new vocabulary. The teacher explained that the most effective method was reading. She said that when people read regularly in a new language, they learn twice as fast as those who don't. She suggested reading for at least 30 minutes a day, choosing texts that were both interesting and appropriate for our level. The teacher also gave us some practical tips for making the most out of reading. She advised us to pick books or articles that we found enjoyable, whether it was a novel, a news article, or a piece related to our hobbies. If the text was engaging, we would be more motivated to read it, and we would naturally pick up new words. She suggested that whenever we encountered an unfamiliar word, we should look it up in a dictionary but not worry too much about memorizing it. Instead, we should focus on understanding the overall meaning of the text. She further explained that reading helped us not only learn new words but also understand how they fit together in sentences, which is crucial for mastering the language. This method seemed perfect for me, as I loved reading and wanted to improve my English vocabulary. We continued the lesson by discussing various situations in England, like finding part-time jobs for students. This was particularly interesting for me because I was looking for a job to support myself while studying. After class, I visited a local job center. I wasn't sure what kind of job I could do, so I asked the lady at the desk for advice. She suggested I try working as a waiter in a cafe, where I could practice English with customers. She reassured me that my English was good enough and that this job would help me gain confidence. I was thrilled to start my new job on Thursday, knowing it would be a great opportunity to improve my English in a real-world setting. On Wednesday, I returned to school. One of my classmates, a quiet student from Japan, asked the teacher how he could improve his pronunciation. He said he felt nervous speaking because he thought his pronunciation wasn't clear. The teacher introduced us to a technique called shadowing, where you listen to native speakers and repeat what they say, mimicking their pronunciation and intonation. We practiced this in class by watching a video and copying the speaker's words. It was fun and helped us feel more comfortable with speaking. The teacher explained that shadowing was also useful when preparing for presentations or speeches. She suggested doing it for 10 minutes a day in a quiet place. I was excited to try this new technique, as I wanted to sound more natural when speaking English. After class, I went to the school reception to ask about sports activities. I learned there was a football team with training that evening. I joined the team and made new friends from different countries. It was a fantastic way to practice English while enjoying one of my favorite hobbies. On Thursday, we had a new student in our class named Marco from Italy. During the lesson, our teacher asked Marco some questions and discovered that he had been in a beginner class at the same school the previous year. Despite only attending for 2 weeks, Marco spoke English fluently. He explained that he practiced a lot on his own using techniques like reading, shadowing, and a new method called thinking aloud, where he would speak his thoughts in English as much as possible. Intrigued by the thinking aloud technique, I asked the teacher to explain it. She said it involved speaking your thoughts out loud in English to help build fluency and confidence. It sounded a bit strange, but she assured us it was highly effective if we were committed. Marco shared his experience with the technique, explaining how he started with simple sentences and gradually built up to more complex thoughts. Over time, this method helped him think in English naturally, which made conversations easier and more fluid. Inspired by Marco's progress, I decided to try the thinking aloud method myself. I realized that learning English was not just about memorizing rules and words, but about using the language in everyday life. By practicing consistently, whether through speaking with others, reading, or even talking to myself, I felt my confidence growing each day. I knew that with determination and the right strategies, I could become fluent in English just like Marco. By the end of the week, I felt a renewed sense of motivation. I had made new friends, started a job where I could practice English daily, and learned new techniques that made learning enjoyable and effective. I was excited for the journey ahead, knowing that every day was an opportunity to learn something new.